Did you think that Miles Morales, one of Marvel's newest and most popular heroes, would only have 10 awesome alternates? Well, you can think again. I'm Adam Andrews with Top 10 Nerd, and this is part 2 of the top 10 alternate versions of Miles Morales Spider-Man. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Spider-Cat. Ah! It's a kitty! It's a little kitty cat Miles Morales. Or, I'm so sorry, Meows Morales. No, I'm not joking, that's actually his name. Look at his little cute face. Coming to us very briefly in the pages of Spider-Man Annual Volume 3, Number 1, Spider-Cat was one of the combatants in the first ever Secret War. Yes, that's Secret Wars, but animalified. He appeared for about 5 minutes when he was knocked into the window of the Watch Dogs bar and had an extremely brief conversation with Howard the Duck and Spider-Ham, during which Meow's uncle, Uncle Heron, was mentioned, who in this animal universe has the evil alter ego of dun dun dun, the Growler. Ooh, nice. Unfortunately, the Celestial who was supervising this battle realm was just a big old grumpy grump and decided that he would completely destroy the place, including anyone who inhabited it. But I will hold out hope that we get to see Meows Morales once again in the future, at some point. Hopefully. Maybe. Number 9, Dark Ages. Dark Ages is, in my humble opinion, a pretty underrated story. Essentially, a superpowered machine known as the Unmaker was causing massive devastation in the core of the planet, and in an attempt to stop the threat, a portal created by Doctor Strange released an EMP that completely crippled the world's technology. The story essentially sees the world rebuilding itself without the use of any advanced technology, while also dealing with the many threats of the world, including werewolves, vampires, and supervillains, specifically the mutant apocalypse. Miles was one of the survivors of this new society, although here, Miles became bonded to the Venom symbiote, which he used to try and help during the first early years. They worked together well until the Carnage symbiote also forcibly bonded itself to Miles as well. Not like Carnage kicking out Venom, I'm talking Carnage corrupting Venom, and the two symbiotes both agreed to take over Miles' body. And they even went to work for Apocalypse in exchange for a starship to escape the Earth. All the while, Miles remained unconscious, being used as an unwilling host. It sounds horrifying, but the Venom Carnage combo was absolutely awesome in my opinion. A little scary, but awesome. Very awesome. Number 8, Deathlok. Just like what happens on Earth 616, the Miles Morales of Earth 807128 also eventually became a member of the Champions. However, while acting as a champion, Dr. Octopus opened up a portal to the Negative Zone, allowing Annihilus and the Annihilation Wave to come to Earth. Now, Miles, being a hero among heroes, confronted the invading wave, but because he's not that powerful, he was inevitably defeated. But luckily, instead of being outright robbed of his life, he was instead brought to Annihilus. Now, face to face with Annihilus, Miles ended up stealing the cosmic control rod that gives its wielder control over the Annihilation Wave. Only, instead of taking command of the wave, Miles instead swung away and using his Venom blasts, destroyed the rod completely, losing his own life in the process. It was after all of that he was later turned into a Deathlok. As a Deathlok, one of his missions was to hunt down Conan the Barbarian, whose presence in the present time was causing damage to the timeline. And all that takes place in Savage Avengers Volume 2 from 2022, and you can go read it yourself. Number 7, Spider-Man Life Story. The comic story Spider-Man Life Story sets itself apart from the rest of the Marvel multiverse by having no sliding time scale. Essentially, this means that Peter Parker and Miles Morales aged like they realistically would from the moment their comics were first issued. So for Miles, he always coexisted with Peter Parker, gaining his powers in 2011 when he was 13 years old, when he was bitten by a radioactive spider. Now, during a time that Peter was missing, Miles took on the Spider-Man mantle until Peter finally came back and took Miles under his wing. Miles worked alongside Peter's resistance when Dr. Doom successfully overtook the Earth with the help from Dr. Octopus. Now, Miles and Peter were key members of the Resistance, but unbeknownst to Dr. Doom, Doc Ock was essentially gaining knowledge to swap his consciousness into the body of Spider-Man, just like he did in the Superior Spider-Man arc, which eventually he did, only this time it was Miles. trapping Miles in Octavius's failing body. Now, being a lot older than the Peter we are used to, Peter Parker figured out what Otto had done, convinced him to undo it, and then sacrificed himself to free the Earth of Dr. Doom. When Otto actually kept his word and returned Miles to his own body, Miles was given Mary Jane's blessing to carry on as this world's main Spider-Man at the age of around 21 years old. That was confusing. Number 6, Spider Mole. Look, we've already got Spider Ham, a pig, and we have Spider Cat, which is a cat. So I mean, it kinda just makes sense that we gotta have a Spider Mole. And that's exactly what we got in all new, all different Avengers Annual Number 1 from August of 2016. Spider Mole was, yes, you guessed it, an anthropomorphic mole with the proportionate abilities of a spider. Does it sound completely bonkers? Yes. Are we surprised? Nope! Or, at least, we really shouldn't be. Spider-Mole used his awesome spider powers to become a superhero who would often spend his time with Hiss Marvel. Yes, that's Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, as a snake. When the villain, Quack-O-Lantern, broke into a bank, Spider-Mole and Hiss Marvel were there to save the day before they went back to their date. Ooh la la, fancy pantsy fancy. Wow. Number 5, Earth 1048. Finally! It's the Miles Morales from the acclaimed Marvel's Spider-Man video game. This version of Miles ranks among quite a few people's favorites, and I think that is more than fair considering just how awesome each game from this series has been so far. Miles' standalone game, while shorter than the first, was in some ways an improvement over its predecessor. In the original game, though, is where we got his origin. When Miles' father was going to be awarded at the New York City Hall for his heroic acts helping Spider-Man, Martin Lee, acting as his evil alter ego, Mr. Negative, attacked as part of his revenge plot against the mayor Norman Osborn. There's a whole lot going on here. Miles' father's passing caused Miles to become distant and reckless to the point of trying to fight criminals by himself, which is when he was saved by Spider-Man. Meeting his hero was a big deal for Miles, and they kind of became like unofficial friends when Spider-Man suggested that Miles help out at the shelter alongside Mary Jane and Aunt May. It was here, while helping move boxes at the shelter, that a genetically altered spider that had hitched a ride on Mary Jane Watson's jacket from a secret lab at Norman Osborn's apartment jumped off Mary Jane and made its way down to the boxes Miles was moving, causing him to be bitten. That's the Sparks Notes version of that story. You'll have to watch or play the game yourself to learn his whole story. I'm personally excited to see where his character goes in the second game when it finally comes out. Number 4, Earth 42. Okay, before we jump into anything here, if you have not seen the animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie yet, and you don't want spoilers, then I suggest that you may want to skip ahead to our third spot today. I repeat, spoiler warning ahead. Okay. As most of you know, Miles Morales was born to Jefferson Morales and Rio Morales in Brooklyn, New York. That's the same here on Earth 42. However, on Earth 42, Miles was supposed to become the Spider-Man, only the spider that was supposed to bite him was actually teleported to Earth 1610B, where it bit the Miles Morales from the first Spider-Verse movie and then later lost its life. This left Earth 42 with no Spider-Man to protect it. Another factor that altered the life of this Miles Morales was the passing of his father, Jefferson. This left Miles being raised by his uncle, Aaron Davis. This inadvertently led to Miles donning what would have been his uncle's suit and becoming this universe's Prowler. Okay, now we can move on. Number 3, Married. This one is an interesting one, specifically because the Earth that this Miles calls home, Earth 8, is actually a possible future of yet another alternate Earth, Earth 65. In Earth 8, Miles Morales ends up marrying the Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman of another alternate Earth, and as a superhero duo, they become pretty famous celebrities. Alongside their 2 children, Spider-Girl and Spider-Boy, plus Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, Jerry Drew, and this really cool Craven-looking Spider-Woman, Miles and Gwen led the Amazing 8, this world's greatest superhero team. While Miles and Gwen were on their second honeymoon in Vanaheim, Gwen's younger self from Earth 65 accidentally arrived in Earth 8's New York and went to the Amazing 8 and specifically Spider-Ham for help to fight Silk back in her reality. Unbeknownst to Miles or Earth 8 Gwen, the 6 other members of the Amazing 8 did indeed go and help the Gwen from Earth 8. From Earth 65. Earth 8? Earth 60? Earth 65. God damn it. Number 2, Mind Spinner. For some reason, when Marvel decided to give us Miles Morales, I guess they couldn't think of any really unique or creative stories, so, just like Peter Parker, Miles got his own Clone Saga storyline. Was it necessary? Maybe not. Did it have awesome stuff? You bet your pants it did. In case you haven't guessed yet, Mind Spinner was indeed a clone of Miles. Unlike Miles though, Mind Spinner had actual physical spider qualities, meaning he had actual massive spider legs, which is just terrifying. But beyond that, Mind Spinner also didn't develop the ability to speak. Instead, he seemed to have psionic abilities which he could also turn into telepathic attacks. Mind Spinner and his brothers escaped and tried to find a way to stay alive as they were not going to last due to their unstable cells and rapid aging processes. Now, Mind Spinner and his brother Salim were arguably the more sinister of the Miles clones, and in their desperation to save their own lives, they would try and attack Miles' family, with Mind Spinner specifically going for his mom. Luckily, Miles was able to stop him. It wasn't until another of Miles' clones saved the day that the other clones began to turn on each other, and Mind Spinner and Salim ended up destroying each other, leaving just one clone left. And in at number 1, it's Shift. That other clone would be Shift. Shift is pretty unique compared to the other 2 clones. While Salim and Mind Spinner had more spider-like or Miles-like abilities, Shift himself was considered a failed clone due to his unstable form. But this was actually just part of his shape-shifting abilities. Shift can expand, contract, or stretch his own mass. He has grown multiple limbs and even changed his whole appearance to that of a monster before. He's quite cool, but what's even cooler is that unlike his brothers, Shift seems to have a bit more of a heroic morality. At one point, when he was left alone to guard Miles while Mind Spinner and Salim went off to attack Miles' family, Shift instead helped out his genetic template. He was the one to save Miles' sister from Salim, which caused the clone to attack Shift, which caused Mind Spinner to attack Salim, and that is how the other 2 clones passed away, leaving just Shift as the last remaining clone and an ally to Miles. There's a really cool story where Shift and Miles take on Salim from a different reality, but that's a tale for another time, so sorry. But there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I've been your host, Adam Andrews. This is Top 10 Nerd, and we will catch you all on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerds. Flip, flip.